Well, guys, I think it's the end of an era. Going to sell this bad boy today.
I'd be at $6,000, writing you a check for it, ready to rock and roll.
Brother.
Which makes me kind of sad, but I'm also looking to do some different stuff. There's been some changes in life lately, and with that, I think sometimes it's good to move on. So today, that's what we're going to do. Let's hop on the road. I'll explain. This is tough. This last ride, possibly on this bike, as long as the deal goes through, which I think it will. I've had this thing for 8 years. It's pretty nuts. I mean, I bought this in 2018. When I bought it, it was like at a weird time where I started looking at motorcycles because I was taking a job across town, and here in Phoenix, if you have a motorcycle, you can ride in the HOV lane, which when you're in this kind of traffic is ideal. And it was something that I really was interested in. So it was also at a time when this YouTube channel started getting I don't know, maybe a little more serious for me, and just decided that I started looking at these Softails. 2018, these new Softails came out, and it's just something really spoke to me about these things. And I saw a review of this specific bike from Morgan Gales, who I've since met in all those years, which is really wild, and he was all about it. And I specifically bought this bike because of the power to weight ratio. A ton of people were like, oh, you got to get a Road King, you got to get a Road King. But for me, this was just a commuter bike. I wasn't really planning on banging out long miles. It was meant to be get around town. It has the saddlebags. I was able to kind of tool around with all the work stuff I needed, and it was just the right bike for me at the right time. So I bought it, and I took it out to the Adam Sandoval Bring It Home rally, world record breaking attempt of most amount of Harleys in a single parade. I rode almost like 3,000 miles in like 5 days, and it was great. And this bike has gotten me through a lot of the tough times that I've had recently, getting out and putting miles down and just having that throttle therapy. And it's been a big part of my life. But in 8 years, it's only got 21,338 miles on it. And in the last few months, I've really started thinking about, I still want a toy, but the bike for me now, what I want out of a motorcycle is just different. It's not necessarily commuting, which now I'll be commuting quite a bit more because I'm returning to an office, or have returned to an office. But there was a couple of years there, 4 or 5 years, where the bike just kind of sat because I worked from home. I didn't really have anywhere to go, and then, I don't know, I just felt like the bike sat a lot. So this new chapter of my life is making me question like what I want out of a pleasure vehicle. Motorcycles, I still love them. I'm still going to do a ton of motorcycle stuff on this channel. I will still have another motorcycle in the future on this channel. But for right now, the season that I'm in with just everything, is that what I want is something that I can enjoy a little bit more with my daughter. My daughter's 10, or about to be 10. And she loves the motorcycles, absolutely loves them. And I do see a future where I take a nice long trip with my daughter. But on the daily, especially in stuff like this, like I just get so stressed out having her on the back of the bike. And it just becomes something that we just kind of cruise around the neighborhood really with. And this is just too much for that. So what I've decided is I'm going to buy, there's a specific car that I'm looking at that I think I'll be able to enjoy a little bit more and more frequently with her, and I need to liquidate this to be able to afford or justify doing that. Not just the sticker price of the vehicle that I'm buying, which is going to be more expensive, but also the insurance. Doesn't make a lot of sense at this moment in time to have a bike that I'm paying insurance, registration on motorcycles in Arizona is not super expensive, but it's also not as cheap as it is in other states. So it'll be just, I don't know, it makes the most amount of sense. So I love this bike. It's such a... I'm going to miss it so much. But, again, the realistic part of it, 21,341 miles, I think I'm better suited for buying the car that I'm going to buy. And I'm not going to tell you guys what it is yet. It's a car that I've wanted for a very, very long time that you can get at a pretty low number, or reasonable number. But then I started looking and it got more expensive. So I'll leave it at that for now. But again, at this point, this bike has to help finance or fund some of that. So I don't think that's the first time I've ever used the horn on this thing. So that's what has to happen. And I think in the next year or two, anybody who's watched the channel long enough knows what kind of motorcycle I probably would be buying, and I'm going to do that. I just think that at the moment, this can go for now. So talking to a colleague of mine, he's got a Road King that he just did a bunch of work on, and we were talking about it, and it really came down to this, which was sell the bike unless it's something that you really have that much of a sentimental value to that you'll never sell it. And the truth is that if I get a new motorcycle, this would go to replace that. I'm not a YouTuber who's going to have a bunch of motorcycles in his garage because he only does motorcycle content. Not me, never has been, never will be. So there's only going to be enough room in my life for one motorcycle. And because of that, this would eventually get traded in anyways. So really it becomes like, do I just sit on this for a year or two before I trade it in on a new bike, or do I just get rid of it now, turn around and use that money for the car that I want, and then just go and buy the bike in a couple of years? And that's the right thing to do. So that is what we are going to do. So long as Desert Wind Harley-Davidson didn't lie to me in an email and gives me the number that they said they would, this bike will be at Desert Wind Harley-Davidson. Let's see. Hopefully Desert Wind does me right. And if so, I'll be sharing with you guys. Either way, I'll be sharing with you guys how this whole thing goes. Stay tuned.
Obviously, when we sell them to the dealership, we're going to be trying to buy them at pawn shop prices, take them in, service them, try to make a little profit on it and everything like that for it.
I'm all about you guys making money.
Yep. So if so it looks like it doesn't need too much. It looks like, it's got a small primary leak, and don't want to do a 20K service on it.
Yeah.
So retail on them, or what would be average trade-in value be here, and just minus the services, I'd be at $6,000. Writing you a check for it, ready to rock and roll.
Brother, I emailed you guys, and she said between 9,200 and 11,200.
Okay. She emailed you. That's what we buy it for, or trade it for? It does look like she has traders selling outright, right? So I'm sure that they'd be able to get you that on trading.
You guys just literally burned a good portion of my Friday, so I'm a little bit pissed about that. I mean, you knew what the mileage was. You knew what I told her that I was looking to sell it, not trade. So I was like, this was all very, very clear. So there's zero reason why this is where it is at all.
It seems right on that email, it seems like she was still asking to trade or sell.
You just saw the email.
Yeah, but like after that, when you called in, did she solidify that you were trading? Did she go over a range after that?
No. The email was sent.
That was the only range that you got.
Where she said, "Are you selling or trading?" And I said, "Selling." Then I sent a bunch of photos of the bike. Look, man, this was a second shot for you guys.
And again, I wasn't here. Management has all really changed in the last couple of years. Last year, we did get the platinum.
Has it changed?
Well, I mean,
has it changed?
Management has changed, and we did get the platinum award last year for the best dealership in the Valley and in the West Coast. So it is because we sell some of the most motorcycles. We try to do our business into the best way that we know how, and this is a for-profit, right? And
I don't mind you guys making profit. You guys are going to sell that bike easily for $11,000 to $12,000. That's what you're going to put it up for.
And that's what I think she sent you, is that the retail for those motorcycles are $9,200 to $11,200, right?
I wasn't asking if you guys buy this bike from me, how much are you going to sell it to somebody else for? That isn't a question anybody would ask. Brother, I mean, what are we doing here?
So I get where he's coming from now. I also hear where you're coming from. So we'll go to 7, which is still not going to make you happy. But before you barbecue us, I would suggest you go here and see if they're going to do any better than 7. If they do, great, take it. If not, we'll stick with the 7. I'm not going to fade from that.
So disappointed that you guys proved to me exactly what I was hoping you weren't going to. That's a real big bummer.
Well, moral of the story is don't go somewhere that you in the past and expect things to be different. I'm none too pleased here about Desert Wind Harley-Davidson. They sent me a number over email for buying this bike, which was super high. I mean, I saw it and I was like, that seems crazy high. $9,200 to $12,000, which, looking at comps for this Heritage, they're selling, or at least asking price around the country, and I did this for anything 2018 to 2020 with 20,000 to 30,000 miles. They're like 11, 12, 13 grand, kind of in that range. So I kind of figured, hey, look, we'll get to why I'm not selling it myself shortly, but I figured, you know, if I got that somewhere in the $8,500 range, somewhere like that, I could maybe justify it. The thought process was, geez, these guys are at 9,200, and even if they try to lowball from that, which would be crazy because that's the low range that they gave, that would just be absurd, right? Well, they offered me $6,000 after offering me $9,200 in email. I am at a loss of words, mainly because I laid all of those words out on the table there. So look, Scottsdale Harley told me that if everything goes well and my bike is in great mechanical shape, which it is, that they would offer up to $8,500. So we're going to go there and see if they try to f me over as bad. So here's the story behind Desert Wind. And personally, I would never recommend doing any business with these guys at all. Because a couple of years ago, when the new touring bikes came out, I decided, like, hey, you know what, maybe I'll trade this bike in on a touring bike, see what the numbers would be. And when I went and sat with those guys, they put out an offer that was so terrible. It was what do they call it? Market adjusted price is what they were, which is just a fancy way of saying dealer markup. I basically told those guys at that point, like, nah, I'm good. And we, you know, no deal. And I was very clear, no deal. I was like, I'm never coming back here. Now all of a sudden I'm back. They ended up, maybe like, I don't know, let's call it like a week or so later, many days, if not weeks after I left the dealership, I was in St. Louis for work. And all of a sudden I got pinged on my phone that I had a credit pull. Within moments of that credit pull, I'm getting a phone call from them saying that they had some new deal that they were excited to share with me about being able to get me on one of those bikes. And me, I was like, you you just ran my credit again, and like that impacts my credit score. Like, how entitled and bullshit are you to do that kind of stuff? And I laid into those guys for that bullshit then. So when I was coming here to sell this bike, again, it was like, do I believe them? Not really. But I was anticipating a little bit of f***ery. But what I just got was an example of the exact same thing I dealt with last time, which was world-class bullshit. I understand selling the bike to a dealership is a terrible way, theoretically, to do this. But at the end of the day, could I turn around and put this thing up on Marketplace and sell it for 10 grand? Probably. Could I put a video up right now saying, hey, come buy this bike for 10 grand? Probably. But there's also a part of being a YouTuber that I take very seriously, which is like, I don't want to have a bunch of people coming over to my house. I've got a kid, and I take my private life pretty seriously. I want to keep it that way as much as possible, and selling motorcycles to subscribers is, I don't know, it's just something I'm not interested in doing. So with that said, I thought, like, hey, is there, you know, if I could sell this thing for 10 grand, which is what I would do, maybe taking a $1,500 hit to sell it to a dealership who could turn around and convince someone to probably pay 12 grand for this bike, that seems reasonable. That gives them meat on the bone. It alleviates me having to go through the process of selling anything, and, you know, it saves me a bunch of time. So that's just the way that I thought it would make a lot of sense. So I have no problem with the dealerships trying to make money. None. It's, I guess the conversation is pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered kind of thing. What also sucks is that having a YouTube channel and being in a position where you're just getting absolutely fucked at the dealership and being like, bro, I flat out told them, like, I'll just share the story on YouTube because people need to know it. And then I also feel douchey because I don't want to have to wield my YouTube power of influence, or whatever you want to call it, to get a good deal, because that means everybody else that's coming in the door is probably getting and that just pisses me off. So I would never recommend that anybody do business with a dealership that knows that somebody has an audience and they're going to fuck them. That's pretty crazy. So they tried to play it off like what they were doing wasn't wrong, but I personally feel like it probably was. So all that to say, let's get up to Scottsdale and see. Are they me too? Here's the deal. I'm looking at coming into Harley here, Scottsdale. I think the penalty I'm willing to pay is like $2 grand. And I know some of you guys are going to be like, oh, that's a lot of money. It's like, oh, it is, but between full-time job, juggling kind of this new life and everything I got going on, $2,000 it's a lot. It's a lot of money, but also it's the value of what I think it's worth to not have to sell it myself. So if I can get $8 grand for this thing, which makes me want to throw up thinking how much I spent on this over the years, but if I can get $8 grand, that to me seems like a fair deal for everybody. And Desert Wind Harley-Davidson. Let's see how this one goes. Well, I just sold my Heritage. Smiling, but it's actually pretty bittersweet. This, well, Scottsdale Harley-Davidson is where I bought this bike, and after everything I just went through over at Desert Wind, this has been a great experience. Honestly, they actually did a much better job here with the process. Where I was at Desert Wind, they just had a sales rep kind of walk around and assess the bike, and, you know, which they're not mechanics, and he came up with, you know, that's where they came up with that $6,000 number, which was absurd. Now, Scottsdale Harley-Davidson, we were emailing back and forth. They actually offered me yesterday in an email $8,500. Now, a lot of you guys are going to say, well, $8,500, like, man, you took a bath on that thing. But keep in mind, that means I don't need to go through having a bunch of people show up at my house, trying to meet people random times and dealing with all this. It's a whole thing. So I could have sold this bike for $10,000 to move it quick. That would have been like I think a move it quick number. Maybe might have had to drop down from that, maybe $9,500. So I don't know. Honestly, dealing with all that, trying to deal with scammers and just all that nonsense that happens, I'm happy getting this thing here. It's Harley-Davidson to Scottsdale. If you guys are interested, that's where it's going to be. I love this bike, every second of it. I mean, I had so many memories with this thing. Honestly, this is the exact spot that I picked it up when I bought the bike, I believe. So bittersweet, but seasons in life, on to something new, and that will be coming on the channel relatively soon. Stay tuned. It's I'm excited for what's next. I'm really sad to actually see this girl go. It's a sad day. But again, everything in life, there's seasons. So with that said, thank you guys very much for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, please hit that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel. I will see you guys next time.